you in your eyes. I see there's something burning inside. Okay, folks, it actually looks like people have joined pretty quickly. We already have 14 participants. So I suggest we just jump in and start so we can get the most out of our time together. Show of hands, like thumbs up if everyone can hear me okay. Excellent. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you. Excellent. Well, wonderful. Welcome, everyone. You are in session I-8, Injecting Fun into Fundraising. My name is Colby Carpenter, and I'm super enthusiastic to be your facilitator for this session. We're going to be talking about fundraising today, and so some of you may be thinking, like, who is this person facilitating this conversation? Fundraising is really scary for lots of folks, and you're not alone there. So just to start off with a little bit about myself, I actually currently live in Washington, D.C., and I work for a United States Senator. So I do want to say that anything that I say in the session and my participation in the session is a reflection of my own personal thoughts and may not reflect the opinions of my employer. With that out of the way, I'm going to stop sharing here. And Liliana, are you able to help me with the stop sharing? I'm not able to see my mouse, which is odd. There we go. Okay, excellent. Hey everyone, so my journey with fundraising actually began many, many years ago when I was a grassroots fundraiser for a pretty sizable child abuse and neglect prevention nonprofit in Eugene, Oregon. From there, I worked for a couple years at Oregon Community Foundation, which raises about $200 million a year in new gifts. And I was working for Portland there. And throughout my time, I was really involved with Rotary from the Interact level, Rotaract level, RILA, and a member of the Portland Rotary Club too. So I'm super excited to have you all. And I love fundraising. I hope you all love to at least talk about fundraising because that's what we're here to do today. Before we dive into discussion, I want to do some housekeeping, if that's all right. First and foremost, this is a recorded session as a reminder, so be mindful of what you say because it's on record. Also, if you haven't already, please mute your mics and unmute yourself when you're going to be talking. But in the meantime, it'd be great if everyone could mute. Thank you. Also, there are just a couple different ways to participate in this session. One, traditionally, unmuting your mic to talk. Two, I really heavily want to encourage folks to use the chat feature. If you have commentary throughout, please feel free to add it in at any time. And then also, you know, if you like what someone says, you can do a thumbs up, thumbs down. Just want to encourage some physical participation too, if you don't want to unmute your mic, but you want to engage in the conversation. Two more things on housekeeping. One, we are not going to be doing 2 different breakout sessions. We're going to keep everyone here today just so we have this shared knowledge and wisdom as one group. But I would still love if someone would volunteer to be a recorder so we can do our assigned duty and save any sort of notes that we have from the session in our chat. So would anybody love to be my favorite person of this session and be a recorder? No pressure, super easy, high level notes, does not need to be detailed whatsoever.
Okay, I'll jump.
Thank you so much, Joanne.
Jeff, you can do it if you want. You did a good job last time. But I guess it's my turn. I'll do it.
Excellent. And if you both want to take notes, even better. Anyone can take notes who wants to. The last bit of housekeeping here is that I want to encourage really short runways, considering that we are meeting in a larger group. What I mean by that is I'm going to be calling on different folks to share, or folks can volunteer to share throughout the session. But I encourage you to have a short runway. That means limit your answer or your contribution to about 1 minute to 2 minutes at a time. That way we can get as many people participating as we can. And if you want to participate a second or a third time in the session, completely welcome. Just think about a short runway so we have more folks talking than just a handful of people. Now, as a reminder, we're here today to talk about how to put fun into fundraising. Fundraising is a super scary talking about money is really scary for lots of folks. And I think that so often Rotary clubs, Rotaract clubs, and Interact clubs come to this point where they say, one, we don't do any fundraising. Two, the fundraiser we've done for 20 years feels a little stale and maybe it's bringing in less money than it used to. What's the problem? How can we respond to it? Or three, you want to use, Jeff's like, yes, asking for money is scary. Thank you for the confirmation. But three, also maybe you want to just use fundraising as a new way to energize your club or to boost participation from your members. So we're asking, how can we make that fun? How can we make it an experience that's a benefit to our club and not necessarily a scary chore? So to start, I would love to go around and just ask folks to share your name, where you're from, the city that you're beaming in from, and one word that you have to describe fundraising. It can be positive, negative, neutral, up to you. I'm going to call on folks because we're in this, web environment. Let's start with Barry Simon.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Colby. I'm Barry Simon. I am a fairly recent member of Rotary, so I don't have a lot of relationship to the particular question. Here more to assist in any facilitating assistance that might be necessary. I'm also a member of MBBI, Mediators Beyond Borders International. And so the opportunity to kind of mediate and connect with communities to have their various differing issues, see where there's overlap that can cause more partnership and cooperative relationships is what I'm committed to and what I'm supporting in this conversation.
Thank you so much for being here, Barry. Barry will be very helpful if my facilitation goes to hell and he needs to.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Jeff,
you.
how about you?
I'm Jeff Olafson. I'm from Santa Clara, California, Silicon Valley. We're like Apple, Google, all those tech companies we know and love are located. And I've been a Rotarian for about 5 years. And just that, like with fundraising, I mean, it's kind of scary just asking people for money because you always think people will say no. But people, I think, can be kind of generous and they want to give to good causes. But it's just how to ask for money. And so what kind of sparked my interest in this session was how to make it fun. So I'd love to hear from others about their experiences with it.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Joanne, how about you? Your name again, where you're from, and one word to describe fundraising.
Joanne Hilton, Lincoln, California. One word is really hard. 80-20 rule is my problem. 20% of the people do 80% of the work.
I have no idea what you're talking about with that. Thank you so much, Joanne. I'm happy you're here. Barbara, would you like to go next?
No, I'm Barbara Carver, Sandpoint, Idaho. And let's see, one word. I can't do one word for fundraising, but challenging.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Terry? And Terry, you're muted, unfortunately.
Almost done today, right? Terry Byer. I am from Springfield, Oregon. And when it comes to fundraising, I'm going to have to give 2 words. So painful and necessary.
Thank you so much, Terry. Springfield Rotary, great club, by the way. Highly recommend. Marty, how about you?
Yeah, Marty Anderson, and I'm in Gig Harbor, Washington. And I just echo what others have said. Challenging, it's not fun, so let's make it fun. I'm open to ideas.
Thank you, Marty. Bob Kelly, Newport Balboa.
Yeah, we have not had fundraising with our Interact Club, only with our main Rotary Club. And we try to have fun. Yes, we're blessed to have an endowment, which really helps.
Thank you, Bob. You just solved, that's the key of fundraising, have an endowment. That's all you really need. All right, Don Rhodes, how about you?
If I would use one word this year with the year of COVID, innovate.
Excellent, I love that. Annalisa?
Hi, my name is Annalisa Salvato, and I'm the Interact District Youth Governor for District 53020. And if I had to pick one word for fundraising, I think I'd choose complicated.
Thanks so much, Annalisa. Happy you're here. Liliana, we're having you as a full-on member of this group. How about you?
I'm from Brazil. I'm Liliana, and I think fundraising is necessary as well.
Excellent, thank you. Naomi?
Naomi Masuno, I'm from District 5000 in Hawaii. For the interactors, it's easy. They just ask the Rotary clubs. But yeah, we're the bank for the Interact, and we need to change that. They need to fundraise themselves. It is challenging. That was my word. We're having a district online auction in October, so that was one way to raise money too.
Thank you so much. All right, let's go with Diane.
I really am listening to everyone else, and I don't think I have anything more to share. Thank you.
That's all right, thank you. What about Emmy, if I said that correctly?
Yeah, that's right. I'm from New Meadows, Idaho, real small town, about 500 people. Fundraising, I think a word that would describe it is intimidating.
Understandable. Thanks so much, Emmy, for being here. What about Burnett? Burnett, if you're talking, you are muted. I'll give you another couple seconds.
Okay, hi. I'm Burnett Greenlee. I'm from Salinas, California. I think daunting and burdensome are my words.
Daunting and burdensome. Okay, let's do it with Cecily. And Cecily, looks like you're muted.
Okay, here we go. I'm from San Francisco, number 2, and our Interact clubs do their own fundraising, so the word is innovative and invaluable for them.
Fantastic, thank you, Cecily. And last but not least, the person who does not have a name, if you would mind introducing yourself. And you're muted if you're trying to talk here.
I did already.
Okay, that's all right. So some of the words that I heard pretty frequently were like daunting, scary, intimidating, maybe words associated with not being fun. And then on the flip side, I heard some innovation or necessary. And I think that that speaks to the really unique kind of pairing of fundraising where it's both really hard and scary, and it's also necessary for clubs to exist or to do the great work that we're doing as clubs, right? Creative, I love that, creativity. And I think the first thing that needs to be acknowledged is that like fundraising is a career for so many folks, right? It is hard, it's a skill that you have to learn. It's not something that is necessarily supposed to be easy, but it can be fun. And there are different ways that you can inject sort of enthusiasm into the process to make it more valuable than just the money that you get back from it. What I'd love to do first is just get a pulse, maybe popcorn around if folks want to share what about fundraising is not fun, whether it's the process to organize a fundraiser or what's not fun when you are asked to give money, right? Like what's broken with the system. And when we identify what's broken, what the flaws are, we can talk about ways to resolve those things. So anyone's welcome. You can do the hand raise feature.
Hey, Colby, hi, Colby. This is Mike McDonough. I'm the current district chair for District 5320. I'm also a member of the Newport Balboa Club here in California. I think the biggest challenge is getting buy-in. And what I mean by that is that one or two people come up with an idea, but then you have 30, 40 other members with other ideas. So I think it's having a collaborative effort, finding out, okay, what are the resources? In reality, if you take 40 members, how many of them are really going to get involved? Okay, so now we're down to 12 people. What can we actively do with those 12 people? And do we have buy-in from all 12? And so that's just one of the challenges that I've seen over the years in any kind of fundraising, whether it's Little League, Rotary, Girl Scout cookies, whatever the situation is.
Thank you, Mike. That's spot on. And with just a show of hands, activity in the comments or the chat, or thumbs up, whatever, who shares that sentiment? Who has difficulty with buy-in when fundraising in their club? Lots of people. I love the clapping, Marty. Thank you. All right, so issue 1, buy-in. What else isn't working? What's broken with fundraising when it comes to Interact or your Rotary Club?
I'm from Sandpoint, Idaho. For me, it is the idea of coming up with some sort of fundraising idea that hasn't already been done by a lot of people, because the organizations go to the same other organizations in the community for every kind of helping fundraiser. So the main thing is something innovative and different that's going to spark interest both on we who are trying to raise the funds and the outside people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Barbara. That is a huge issue, right? I have this philosophy as a former fundraising professional that I will never do a bake sale ever again, because for me, that just epitomizes the most classic fundraiser, right? Or with auctions, or after a while, there can only be so many auctions in a town, and those maybe taste a little more stale than we'd like. So there's an issue there of being unique and standing out in a crowded fundraising field. Barry, did I see that you had a hand up?
Well, in terms of the fun thing, it may not raise a ton of money, but it brings chapters and youth groups together. As things as simple as a car wash, when that becomes more possible as COVID evolves. But also, I think what's a key challenge is creating a mindset. So the automatic mindset is kind of what people are showing, that it's daunting, scary, and not fun. That's kind of the automatic mindset that is there before somebody even makes a phone call to do a fundraising call. And so if you could get present to the mindset and choose to create something that's more empowering, then that call might be fun and surprisingly effective.
Thank you, Barry. So true. You're sort of setting yourself up for success when the whole team starts out by saying, this is gonna suck, but we have to do it, right? It's not gonna be fun if you determine ahead of time that it's not gonna be fun.
Right.
Fred, did I see your hand up?
Just a radically different idea, and I'm sorry I'm late. I had to be at a district assembly breakout, so I had to cut out of this one for a while. One of the more interesting fundraisers that was, raised $25,000, so it's non-trivial. Interact made a video on Polio Plus, and they sent it to all their family, friends, neighbors, etc. So the money wasn't coming from Rotary or necessarily their own families, but one, they had fun making the video. Second, they had fun figuring out who all they were going to get it to. But the feedback was they had fun when they got calls. Tell me what this Polio Plus and Rotary was. And this really came out of them as a rather unique event.
Thank you, Fred. I love that idea. Anything that sort of leverages technology too, I think is great, especially as we're existing in this pandemic space. How about 1 or 2 more issue areas with fundraising, and then we'll switch gears and go to how to solve those things. 1 or 2 more sort of complications with fundraising.
One of the complications, I think, is like asking younger people for money, just because younger people are just starting out. So they're hesitant to give up money because they want to be able to do things, and they're just starting their careers. So it's kind of a trouble thing, just asking people for money, because you never know who has it and who wants to give it up. So that's just always a concern I've got.
Great concern. I think at all levels of fundraising, right? It's the capacity question. You feel
Yeah.
bad if you ask someone to donate if you know or if you don't know if they can donate at all, right? It feels a little icky. Naomi, you wanna bring us home with one more?
Well, sure. But right now it's hard because we're asking for Polio Plus in October. We asked for Foundation in November. Our state has a very high, we have one of the highest unemployment rate in the nation. And so people are asking for food bank and homeless groups and nonprofits are hurting. So right now it's hard, but for other times it's the timing. You don't want to ask during Christmas or during, different times. So it's the timing issue also.
Another great point. I think that this exercise is really exemplifying how there are so many concerns with fundraising. And Naomi, you do a great job of speaking about fundraising fatigue, right? There's fatigue with asking so many times. There's also fatigue when people are asked too many times. You can only receive so many letters in December asking you for money at the same time before, it gets to be a little bit too much. So
I had no idea there was a limit on the number of letters you could get.
I'll write you one more. Don't tempt me. So I'm just gonna. Oh, Fred, we can't hear you if you're trying to add something, and you're still muted.
I will unmute Fred. Wait.
Thank you.
I did it myself first. Okay. In Rotary, the best months to ask for money for foundation is usually December and June. You get the most money in those 2 months because people are trying to get in December it into their tax deductions, what have you. Now, you could say asking for youth programs might not be the same, but we actually found the same thing in my club when we asked for youth money in December. So don't rule out Christmas is my main point.
Thank you, Fred. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people ask in June and December, right? Those are good times, and they've been proven to be really great times. So to summarize the challenges that we've identified so far as a group, we've listed having buy-in from folks who are organizing the fundraisers or from your club, right? How do you make it so it's not only 20% of the team doing 100% of the work? That's an issue. The issue of coming up with a creative idea and not doing the same old thing that you've always done or that everyone else does. How do you stand out in a crowded field? How do you change the mindset of your team so that you're not starting out a place of saying, this is awful, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this, because that's setting yourself up for failure. 5 or 4, having capacity, right? Knowing who can actually give if you're asking for the right amount, if you're asking for enough time or resources, whatever it looks like. How do you sort of do a guilt-free ask? And also, how do you avoid fundraising fatigue, both on the planning side and also on the donor side? And make sure they're not going to the same one person every single month with an ask and sort of turning them off from you as a whole. So next I want to ask and sort of crowdsource from this group, if I may, solutions to these issues. What has worked before? What do you think could work now? And to give you just a little bit of time to let that marinate in your head, I'm going to share with you my initial thoughts, right? As a fundraiser in the past, I've done anything from small scale, like $100 is a great success fundraisers, all the way to being involved with multi-million-dollar gifts. And there are some core pieces of fundraising that I have found to be true at every single step of the level of the process, right? Of the giving level. Number 1, to speak to Barry's point, you have to be confident, right? And this goes to Jeff's point too, with knowing people's capacity. I think one of the most important things with fundraising is to know that you are taking on this daunting task for a greater good, right? I don't think that as Rotarians or as interactors, we should ever feel bad inviting someone to join you in a really meaningful effort, right? Like eradicating polio is such a worthy cause that you should really try to be excited about that process. And if they say no, great, that's maybe not the time for them. Maybe they're focusing their resources elsewhere. That's fantastic. But at the end of the day, you did a great act, right? You tried to advocate for a cause that's really meaningful. So trying to build that confidence on your team is key. Let me just see, I have a question here. Excellent. So we have a question about virtual fundraising. We will get to that. That's a great question. Also inclusion, right? How do you make sure that everyone feels included in the process, and that it's not just the 20% of people doing all the work, because it's 20% of the people who are making all the decisions, right? How do you expand your circle to include more voices in the process, more ideas in the process, from the internal side? And then externally, how do you expand your audience, right? How do you expand the pool of people that you're asking for money or for volunteer hours? I think someone shared the idea, let's see, who was that here? Was it Fred who shared the idea about how interactors shared a video with their own circles, right? And that increased the amount of people that you're asking for support. And so the folks who, live in the 500-person town, that's going to be hard to fundraise when you only have 500 people. So how do you expand to that circle outside of your town and use technology to tap into people across the globe? Gratitude is maybe the most important thing with fundraising, and that can help battle the fatigue, right? When someone's getting asked all the time for money or to volunteer, the way that you can really stand out is by demonstrating authentic and meaningful gratitude. I think that people inherently want to be supportive and they want to give when they can, but they want to do it when folks appreciate that investment that they're making. And so being really gracious and always making sure that you're spending time and resources on your end to express that gratitude will help with the fatigue aspect. And then creativity too. How do you stand out? How do you have the confidence to say, we've never tried this fundraiser, it sounds a little silly, but let's just do it. What's the worst that can happen? I remember early on in my career, I worked at an organization that was well known for its fundraisers, for its auctions, and we wanted to have a new fundraising source. And so someone had the idea of like, what if we did a lip sync battle? Because there's this lip sync TV show, people are into it. Could we do something with that? And it was scary, but we had the confidence to try it out. And now it's one of the biggest fundraisers for the organization because it was silly, right? It attracted people because it was new. It was kind of getting buzz because of the sort of weirdness of it. And it also was a fundraiser that engaged people. It wasn't just a letter that asked for money. It invited them to have a fun time, right? It invited them to be a part of a story, whatever it is. The more you can engage people, the better. I'm loving this chat activity here. So I'm actually gonna invite some of these folks to unmute yourself and share some of these questions or ideas that you have with the entire group. Keep participating in the chat because this is great and it'll be recorded. But what else has worked for people, right?
Hey, Colby, this is Mike again. As far as fundraising, some of the areas I've seen where mistakes are made is identifying the players within the fundraising. In other words, assigning the right people to what their passion is. In other words, you have somebody that's not really comfortable going out and soliciting, for money and things like that, but they're the people that on the day of the fundraiser want to show up early in the morning, get things set up. They're really good at those things. So I think that when you want to fundraise, you identify all the people, what their strengths are, and put those in the areas where they're the strongest. And when you do that, you have a lot more success.
Absolutely true. It's more effective for the process. And it's also kind of an empowerment and an acknowledged process. I think it's great when you can turn a fundraising effort into a team building effort exercise too, right? Like, how is this going to be a social experience for our club? This is going to be fun from the get-go. I know that, Ted is really great at this. You want to take the lead there. Jenny, you're awesome at this. How about you take the lead there? And the more you can delegate and sort of build upon people's strengths, the more investment they have in the process because they feel like they're really contributing and that they're not just, assigned something they don't want to do. So thank you for that. Who else? Barbara, if you're talking, you're muted. You're not into talking, that's okay.
What I kind of wanted to add something about playing to people's strengths, what you just mentioned. So like there's people in my Rotary club that are kind of older and they're more established and it might be retired, so they've had their business and can and has the capacity to donate money. But a guy, myself, I'm a Rotarian and I love the community. And although I'm just gonna start out on my career, I don't have the most amount of money. but I tend to donate my time. Like I donate my time to Interact to help out and with the youth services to help out. So in some of the returns like it that I just love to help out with other things, so I have my hands in different projects and stuff. And like when we go to help out at different projects, I can move boxes, like they like it because I'm younger, I can kind of do that and move around more. So I mean, like what you said, everybody has different strengths and play to those different strengths. Like if Bob is good with like management, ask him to manage the project. And if so-and-so's good with this, ask him to do that. So it's just about thinking of who's best with what and ask them to do that. And when you do that, then come together for the betterment of the community project that you're working on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff, for that. I think that you did a great job of speaking to how fundraisers are great to raise money, and they're also fantastic to build a network or a community, right? You may have heard the term like a friend raiser. So many fundraisers at established organizations or clubs may end up raising a little bit amount of money, but they build your network, right? They may grow your membership. They may grow the reach of your fundraiser the next time because more people are interested. So acknowledging the ways that fundraisers can bring in money, but also other valuable things like people or, you know, sort of like press or publicity about your club is also key. So fundraising is great for raising money and so many other things. Who else? Liliana, go for it.
Yeah, just I put some comments in the chat, but you talk something that raised my attention. That is, someone talk about how to demonstrate the gratitude for the donators. But I think one thing people sometimes forget is how you as a
Liliana, I think we're losing you with the connection a little
money, you know, like when you make a big donation and you receive a report, you can say, oh, I am seeing what has been achieved. But when you are a small donator, like if you are part of a club and you give a monthly amount of money, so people have to be informed what the time and the money they are giving has achieving whatever, you know.
Yeah, like what benefits?
Certainly. And Liliana, I think that you speak to how fundraising at its best, and this is like one of the best pieces of advice, fundraising at its best is storytelling and connecting people to stories, right? When you invite someone to participate in a fundraiser or to make a donation, you're inviting them to be a part of a greater movement. And that's what really sells, right? Trust me, I know lots of people donate to get the tax benefit. That's completely true. But I think the most effective fundraisers are ones that make people feel connected to a larger movement. So a fundraiser at any scale can do that, right? If you do have a small bake sale from your small club, how do you make someone feel like buying a muffin is going to change someone's life, you know, by having a polio vaccine? How do you tell that story? And when you're able to make that connection and tell that story, your fundraiser is going to be a lot more successful. So thank you, Liliana. That's a big part of the gratitude, right? Saying thank you, and then also making sure that you establish that connection. Hey, Naomi, can I call on you to tell us more about this bingo fundraiser?
If you don't want to hear about raise.rotary.org, that is fun. But this bingo fundraiser, they had like 150 people come in because, you know, with this, when we're in lockdown, you want something fun to do. And so they had to dress up in drag. And so that was the key, you know, having a fun thing. The bingo was kind of minor, it was the dressing up part. And so 150 people at $100 each. It was the easy one night fundraiser.
I love that. You're so spot on, right? You have this draw that's unique, that's silly, that's going to get people talking, and that's going to be memorable when they walk away, right? It's not just a bingo fundraiser, it's a bingo fundraiser with a twist. And that's what makes you stand out with your fundraiser. So I love that. It's something familiar. We all know bingo, We all know what a lip sync is, whatever, but it's silly and it also engages people. They're not just sitting at an auction table and listening to a 2-hour session. They feel like that they're a part of the fundraiser, which is incredibly valuable. All right, who else here? Yes, John.
It may sound kind of corny, but I think fundraising, take the D out of fundraising and make it fundraising. Because if you create that atmosphere where people are enjoying themselves, don't bring up money right away, but it may come up. But if people are enjoying themselves, they'll be freer with their pocketbooks. So I think if you focus on the event and entertaining people, something they want to do, relate it to a cause that they can identify with, the money will come.
So true, and such a core value of fundraising, right? It's establishing that environment that's fun, that's positive, that's warm, right? And I think to build on that, you want to create that space when you're executing your fundraiser, whether it's an event or an online campaign. You want it to be a really warm, inspiring environment. But I also encourage you to think about ways that you can do that on the back end, right? Where you get to make the organization of the fundraiser fun and a social campaign and not just work or a chore. So how can you say, hey, we're gonna do a letter campaign, everyone come over to my house, not during a pandemic. We're gonna do wine and pizza, and it's gonna be a really fun time. And while we're there, we can also do these letters. Or let's have a game night and then also do some planning. So what are ways that you can make the experience amazing and fun and warm and enjoyable, but also the planning? I think that's an area that people often forget. Yes, Fred. And Fred, you're muted, unfortunately.
Okay. I want to reinforce your focus on using movement rather than project as a major focus. We've discovered our Rotaractors will donate if they understand it's part of a movement, a phrase that older folks don't understand as well. And if you also link it with a walk, a run, or anything similar, and it could be in a group, but in COVID, it could also be individually, but they're only contributing $10, they're at least getting that sense of movement. And of course, they can invite friends and others to chip in and sponsor.
Absolutely, right? How do you tell that story? How do you make the connection between a transaction that's a donation to the movement? And I think that we see this a lot with online, right? When you see online fundraisers, GoFundMe, not only does that expand your reach of the fundraiser, but it's a great platform to do storytelling. So I really want to encourage folks during this pandemic that we're in to think of ways that you can leverage technology to tell stories online while raising funds. So thank you, Fred. I think that that's a great idea of doing that. If I usually don't love pointing people out and calling on folks, but if I may indulge myself, Annalisa, do you mind sharing about what fundraising looks like as someone who's younger? Because through my own experience, oftentimes I think high schoolers are sort of swept to the side and like, there's no way that they could be good fundraisers, but they like really are, right? Like, how can you bring innovation and work ethic and all of these great traits that younger people have to fundraising? What's worked for you?
So we found that what works for us is pairing with local restaurants and having fundraisers there, because we found that one of the things that motivates high schoolers the most is food. So when they're able to go to a restaurant and buy food and have that be a part of our fundraiser, and they can go with like their friends. And what we've been doing now is instead of all meeting at the restaurant together, is that we have it from like 4 to 8 p.m. and then you can just go whenever you want to, bring a friend with you or like a family member if you're comfortable with that, and get your food, take a picture of your food, send it to us, and then you can leave. And we found that that works really well for us, is that the high schoolers really like having our fundraisers be connected to like a restaurant.
Thank you so much. I would go to that myself. I know that to be true. But you connected to this idea of fundraising being a social experience, right? I think they're so much more effective when you can have a fundraiser that builds community, that makes you feel like you're part of something more. And taking the photo, adding some kind of social media element to that, I think is really great too, because you're able to sort of build that beyond the group that's physically there. So we only have a few minutes left. Does anybody else have either an outstanding question about fundraising or any ideas or a great fundraiser that you've done that you want to recommend? I wish we could talk about this all day, and trust me, I would. But in the final moments, I want to make sure that maybe someone who hasn't had a chance to talk yet has that opportunity.
Well, I guess I'll jump in. We're planning a big virtual fundraiser for our club. And what we're finding in talking to auctioneers and folks doing this is that they're getting better results than in person. And I think it's because there's such pent-up demand. People are dying to be able to go, not dying, that's a bad word. They can't wait to go out and do something. So for instance, some of them have a vacation in Cancun. And instead of selling 1 or 2 of those during the auction, the other day they sold 23 in one auction because people were so excited about going to Cancun for a week sometime, whenever they can go. Maybe it's 2 years from now. So I think I'm kind of excited about the prospect of a virtual fundraiser, which we were kind of, oh, this is not going to go so well, but it may be even better than, your typical crab feed or whatever it is.
Yes, thank you. I love that. There are 2 major things that I got from that. One is that by having an online fundraiser or auction, you're eliminating barriers to participation in the fundraiser, right? Because when you have a traditional auction, maybe someone's out of town and they can't go. Maybe, they don't like the environment of having to dress up and go to an auction or whatever. Online oftentimes eliminates barriers to participation and makes it so more folks can actually be eligible donors. So that's great. And 2 is like you've zoned in on the need, right? Or the interest area, because like you said, people are interested in going out eventually when it's responsible. They have this desire to do more. And so you're tapping into that. What's the missing sort of opportunity in your community that you can fill with a fundraiser? Is there not a fun young professional event that you could create and do? Is there not a bingo drag option that you can create, right? What's the missing piece of the puzzle that you can fill, and you can just try it out with confidence? And if it works, super. If it doesn't work, it was fun while you did it.
And it's easy to show a video of your commanding cause that you're really after.
Yep, technology is a great way to do that storytelling. So I want to thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate the wisdom that every single person has brought to this conversation. I think we could be talking about this for days and days at a time. And I encourage anyone to reach out to me afterward if you have more questions about fundraising or anything about Rotary. I'm happy to talk about it. I want to thank everyone for participating and being in here. And I also want to acknowledge that this is the last session of the conference. So from here on out, there's no closing session. You did it, you're done. Congratulations, you made it through a virtual conference. And I just want to again acknowledge that it's really incredible that you all chose to spend several hours of your weekend to learn about ways to support our communities and to better serve youth in our Rotary programs. Any other final thoughts, well wishes, exciting kudos?
Thank you for your time.
Great facilitating.
Yeah, good job.
Good job, Colby.
I guess I didn't need to keep notes.
Thank you, everyone.
Great.
Everybody, nice meeting everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Enjoyed meeting you all.
Safe, fun.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.
Meeting.
Well done. And thanks, Liliana.
Yeah, thanks, Liliana.
Yeah, thank you for you all.
Keep
for
working
having
on peace.
I
Good
do.
luck on that. Good luck on your PhD and everything else.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.
Bye. Thank you, Kobe. Was really nice.
You
Thank
are
you, Barry, for your company during the day.
Bye, everyone.
Well done, Colby. Thank you. Thank you, Liliana.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Cecile.
Bye.
Bye, Cecile.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.